I have a YouTube video that I've published where whenever I price out a project back when I was in the private side, when I was doing scanning for hire or scanning for a project internally, I would draw these 12.5 meter radius circles and I would place them where I would think I would need the scans on the site and count them up. And that's how I priced the scanning project. And the scan spacing at low resolution, you tend to get, and I have another YouTube video about resolution that I suggest you watch to understand why I usually recommend low resolution. If you space your scans every 25 feet, so 12.5 radius is 25 feet across from scan to scan, then you're able to completely cover this entire site. And that 25-foot spacing usually gives, and that's kind of a maximum spacing, but it gives you a really nice overlap and leans really heavily into the automated side of things when you bring your raw data into Register 360 Plus for its ability to quickly generate the correct links and the correct registrations. And here's that same 25-foot spacing if you distance filter it down to 75 feet. So you see you get a ridiculous amount of redundant data. And if you remember, I didn't actually put circles here in the center of this, or there's an open gap here. And that's because you don't have to put scans to get exhaustive scan data on every single part of your site. Now, another concept of the automation that you get when you bring things into Register 360 Plus is how you actually generate the scan data in Field 360. And Field 360 is the companion app that runs on the Android tablet or the iPad. And there's a handful of options you have when you create the links. And I recommend, unless you're doing a big, boring topo where you're going to push it up to medium and go every 40 to 50 feet between your scans just because there's not a lot of features, and you can lean heavily on the GNSS and the RTC 360. If you're not, usually we laser scan because there's a lot of features, a lot of detail. So I crank it down to low res, get more scans because it's less data. A low res scan without photos is only 40 megabytes. And with adaptive image resolution turned on, it's only an additional 40 megabytes. So it's only 80 megabytes per scan. And this first option, this quick link, after you generate 2 scans, quick link is available for scanners that have Viz. And Viz, you see the scans are pretty much already placed where they go. But in the past, I've seen quick link, it can manifest some issues because it basically, the Viz is really accurate, but the quick link option is not much better than Viz. It connects and it does a very lightweight calculation based on nearest point neighbor. And you can tell it's not doing a very robust calculation because it generates that link almost instantaneously when you hit quick link. And then the second option you have in Field 360 is pre-align. That's a little checkbox. Pre-align is for a situation like this where you don't have Viz. Setup 1 and setup 2 are not in the correct place. It's something like using a BLK 360 G1 or a P-Series scanner that I love using the P-Series scan with Field 360. And if you check pre-align, it'll do a quick calculation and try to figure out the translation rotation between those scans, how they go together. And this one you can tell scan 1 was taken probably at the top of a spiral staircase and scan 2 had gone down a little ways. And it's really good for that. But if you have Viz, you're kind of undoing some of the technology if you check pre-align because it's ignoring the fact that there was already a Viz solution. So what I prefer to do is just the create link, you select 1, select 2, and then you jump into optimize. And this is something I wanted to show these slides, honestly, for this key takeaway. This level of detail was not was not an option until Field 360 4.0 came out. And I don't know if anybody watched LinkedIn or the different distribution channels, but Field 360 5.0 went live yesterday, which allows for use of the BLK2Go and the new BLK2Go Pulse. But this level of detail actually drives the calculation, the how many points are used to do this link creation calculation. And I believe if you dive into the documentation, you probably don't want to use high unless you're using something like a high-end tablet like an iPad Pro. You're probably going to want to do low or medium. That way you don't flood the cache of the tablet that you're using.